everybody, it's Dana and welcome back to day 5. We are at the end of the 2020 holiday card series, and I want to thank you guys for your comments and your love and your support of this card series. So let's go ahead and get into the last card. Today I'm using the Stylized Christmas trees from Hero Arts. And I'm also going to be using the infinity rectangle dies as well. And we're going to make a mid-century modern holiday card. I love mid-century modern holiday cards. And I'm also going to be using some kiwi cardstock. This is also from Hero Arts. And I'm going to be using an arrangement of inks. I'll be sure to list all the inks and all the products I have used for this card below. And all the dates from 1 to 4 also have the product links below. So I'm starting off with a Dove White card base, and I want to make a snowy hill. So I have removable Post-it tape here. It's like on a roll, and I'm going to be able to make my own little hill. Now there are dies that can do this for you, but I was a little bit too lazy, didn't feel like getting up to get them. So you can also use Post-it notes. You can use it like this, that's on a roll, or you can use them individually. So I'm just lining up to see how tall I want my little hill to be. And then I can just grab some scissors. Now I don't have to be perfect on this. I just kind of want like a little bit of a wave and a little bit of a dip in order to have just a snowy little bank. And what's so great about this Post-it tape is that, Post-it note tape rather, is that it's full sticky. It's sticky all the way across the back. So that's going to be perfect to adhere down to my card. Now you can also use masking tape on this if you wanted to, but I had this handy roll and I hadn't used it in a while. So I figured I'll bring it out and use it on this card. So once I have it on there, I am going to press pretty good so I don't have any bleed from my inks underneath and it will ruin my white little snowbank. Now I'm just going to come in with some shades of blue to create this little background. Now you can do ink blending with plenty of supplies. You can do them with the Tim Holtz little round ink blending tools. This here is the paper tray ink. There's also ones from not Hero Arts, Altenew and Pink and Main, Picket Fence, and you can also get blending brushes. They're called makeup brushes off of Amazon. So I started with the Cornflower. Now I'm going to come in with the Soft Sky. I'm keeping with just shades of blue, and I'm going to go from darkest near the edge to lightest going towards the top. I do want to mention, when you're ink blending, be gentle with yourself. Don't go crazy if it doesn't, blend smoothly. It's okay. I promise you, there's not going to be any Nazi card makers out there telling you that your blending's not perfect. When we make our holiday cards, we want it to be relaxing. We don't want to stress. And the beauty of making handmade cards is that it's handmade. People aren't going to find these cards in stores unless you're selling them to stores, but it's handmade and it's made with love. So have a little bit of patience with yourself and enjoy the process. As you can see during this series, I have not done any coloring. I have not colored any images. I've kept everything nice and simple so that I can make a variety of cards with the supplies I already have, and I don't have to worry about my coloring. I don't have to have Copic markers, watercoloring, and actually this series was very relaxing for me because I didn't do overly extensive, complicated cards. I did bring in a little bit of navy because I wanted to darken up that line just a little bit. And anytime I'm ink blending, I make sure to start off of the paper and bring the ink to the paper. Now I'm just going back through the shades that I had just to darken up everything and to smooth everything out. Once I have this completed, that's going to pretty much be the background of this card. I'm going to keep it really, really nice and simple because I want my trees to actually be the thing that pops off of this card. Again, this is a great masculine or feminine card because mid-century modern works for both. Once I have this smooth in the way I want it, I can go ahead and peel back the Post-it tape. My one suggestion with peeling back this tape is to make sure you peel it back on itself. I wanted to add a little bit of sparkle before I peeled back that tape. So I went ahead and grabbed some sparkle spray. Again, all the products will be listed below. And I want to just spritz a little bit of this on there, just so I have a nice little backdrop for my trees. I always spray my sprays into a box so it does not mess up my desktop. And as I tilt the card, you can see that nice little shimmer in the paper. Now, once I have that completed, like I said, make sure you pull back your Post-it tape on itself. Even if you're using painter's tape, make sure to pull it back on itself so you don't end up ripping your paper. Now, my paper was a little bit wet, so I ended up getting a smudge of a fingerprint on there, but that's okay. I'm going to end up covering that up with a tray. So instead, I'll just grab something to protect my hands and my background from my fingers, and then I can gently pull back that tape and look at that great crisp line I have. And that is because I made sure that that tape was nice and tight around that area. All right, we'll set this aside to dry, and we'll come in and we'll start working with our trees. So I'm going to grab my Misty here, and I went ahead and I cut myself down some of the kiwi cardstock. Now, I wanted to have traditional colors in this card, so I am going to be using some greens and some reds, but I'm also going to bring in some gold. To me, those are traditional holiday colors. And what I love about these trees and this stamp set is all of them are different. None of them look the same. So I have a really cool retro vibe going on here. I'm going to place 3 down because I like to do odd numbers on my cards when it comes to elements. If I'm doing 1, I usually would do 1 and 3, unless I'm doing people. And then I might just only do 2. But I like to do 3 because it keeps your eye kind of moving across your card panel. Now I am going to do a little bit of heat embossing on this. So I'm going to use my anti-static bag to make sure that when I do that last tree, I don't get embossing powder everywhere. For the first tree, I'm coming in with red royal ink. Now this red ink is going to look different on color cardstock than it is on white cardstock. Just keep that in mind when you're stamping. So I'm going to go ahead and press that down. Now this is a solid image, so I'm going to actually stamp this 3 times. 1, because I want to build up the saturation of color. And then 2, I want to make sure that I get a good even coverage. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that I press that down and I have a solid image when I'm done. Now, I did not condition my stamps the first time I stamped with this, but if you condition them with Versamark, you'll get a crisper image. All right, so now that's a beautiful, deep red. And now I'm going to come in with my green. So I'm using Green Hills for this. And this is kind of going to be a tone on tone. This green is a little bit different than the kiwi, but it's going to still read green on here. So I can go ahead and press that down. Again, this is a pretty solid stamp. So I'm going to stamp this twice. Again, 1 for coverage, but also because I want to get some richness into this paper. I want a nice saturation of color. So make sure it's lined back up. I'll press that down with my handy dandy little tool that my husband made for me. And this one will be done. Now, when it comes to doing the third one, that one I want to heat emboss. So I'm grabbing my Versamark for this one. Now this tree is a little bit more detailed, finer lines, I guess I want to say. So I am going to make sure to stamp this twice in my Versamark. So the first time that I stamp it, you're really not going to see it too much on the paper because Versamark is in clear ink. It's meant to leave like a watermark, or in this case, we use it for embossing powder to make the embossing powder stick. So I'll press that down, and as you can see, you really don't see it quite yet. So I'm going to stamp that a second time. And I think on 4 of the 5 cards I've done this year, I've actually used embossing powder. And that's a great way to add color to a project without actually having to color anything. So keep that in mind. If you want to add color to something, go to your embossing powders. I frequently do this usually with just sentiments, but I really love the fact that I used it a lot during this series this year. So I can go ahead and move that out the way, and then I'm going to come in with some gold embossing powder. I think the color combination of the red, the green, and the gold is really a traditional look for a holiday card. But of course, you can have purple trees, blue trees, pink trees, burgundy trees, whatever color tree you want, go for it. Remember, you're the artist. Don't let anything dictate what you do. Choose the color palette that you love and a color palette that speaks to you, and run with it. Be happy when you craft. Don't worry about keeping yourself confined into a box. You can see during my holiday card series, I'm all over the place with color. And I like that because it gives me a nice variety. So making sure that my heat gun is really, really hot before I bring it to my panel. That's going to prevent a lot of warping. Once this is done, you're going to see just how gorgeous these trees look. Look how beautiful. I love the different styles of these trees. They're absolutely phenomenal. Now, again, this is really easy to do, easy card making here. I do have the matching dies, so I am going to die cut out these pieces, and then I'll run this through my Gemini Junior. I am going to use a little bit of purple tape to hold everything in place so nothing shifts. Once I have it run through my Gemini Junior, I have 3 great trees to start putting onto that panel that we made. And I love that each one is totally different. Now I'll bring back in that panel. That panel has set off on the side and it's dried. And I just want to kind of place my trees where I think I might want them. I had a sketch of the design that I was going to do, but then I just wanted to play with it to make sure I had the right layout. And I also need to place down a sentiment. So I need to leave a little bit of room for that sentiment across the bottom. I'm so sorry if you guys hear any noise in the background. We are having our lawn cut. Yes, we live in Florida and we're still cutting our lawns, which is like absolutely ridiculous. But you know, there you have it. He always comes when I seem to be making a video. So I do want to cut down this panel. So I've grabbed my rectangle infinity dies from Hero Arts. And I just want to cut this down so I can have a little bit of a border. So look how gorgeous that line is and how pretty that background is. I could really see this background done in shades of purple and yellow and pink and orange for a sunset. I think that would be absolutely beautiful with these trees. I'm placing the purple tape towards the outside before I cut it because I don't want it to rip any of that ink blending that I did. Once I have this trimmed down, I'm going to bring back in those trees just again for placement so I know where I want to put my sentiment. So I'll grab my trees, and again, I'm just kind of playing with the design to see exactly what colors and what trees I want sitting next to each other. But I do know I want to put my sentiment towards the middle point. Within this stamp set, I think there's 6 sentiments. I am going to use the We Wish You a Merry Christmas because it's going to be nice and long and it's going to look great with those trees. Now I am going to put just 1 tree on one side and 2 trees on the other. Again, it's going to keep your eye moving along the line of this card. I grabbed out my mini Misty here to line up my sentiment. Now, again, my trees are just sitting there for placement. It doesn't mean that's how it's going to be. They're just sitting there for placement purposes. Now I can go ahead and bring in my sentiment. And again, I'm going to keep my sentiment towards the middle of my card, to where that little dip is, where I have my valley of my snowbank. Once I have that lined up, I can pick it up with my lid, and I want to bring some more red into this card. So I'm going to use the same ink, that red royal color, and I'm going to stamp this twice. Now, again, remember I said this red's going to look different on white than it is on colored cardstock, and you're definitely going to be able to see it here. It comes off as a very cherry kind of red. Now, again, I want to be a little bit deeper in this to kind of like match the red in my tree. So I'm going to stamp that a second time. I'm going to bring in that red tree just for color variance to make sure I like that color and I'm good with that. So I'm not going to stamp it a third time. Now it's time for us to go ahead and start building our card. I'm going to bring in my score buddy, and I already have a white card base. Now these white card bases are from Hero Arts, and they're perfect if you don't have card bases already cut down, you're too lazy to cut anymore like I am right now. This is perfect. They're already scored for you. All you have to do is reinforce the score line, and then you already have a card base. So I'll use my Teflon bone folder to go ahead and make a really great crease in this card, because it's going to be a top folding card instead of a side folding card panel. Now, once I brought this in, I was like, I think I want a little bit of green around the border of this. So I'm going to bring in another piece of that kiwi and just test that out. And yes, I do want that green. So I'm going to be pulling that green from the trees into that card base. Again, keeping all of my colors the same. I'm not adding any new color. I just felt like I needed to have a little bit of green on that base. I did take off about 1/8 of an inch with my trimmer, just so I can have the border, but I can also have a white border on my card. So I just took off 1/8 of an inch on two sides of that green panel. Now I can go ahead and place the blended panel onto my card base. If you guys have missed any of my series, I've been doing holiday card series, I think for 5 years, might be a little bit more, maybe 6 years here on YouTube. So go ahead over to my playlist and you can click on all of my holiday series. Now I also do Valentine's Day series as well, but if there's something you want to see in a video, make sure to leave some comments below, because I'm always game to venture out and do things by request. I did put tape runner on the back of this, but I am going to add some liquid adhesive as well, because I want to give myself just a tad bit of wiggle room onto the screen. Since I just have such a sliver of a border, I just want to make sure that when I press this down, I'm going to be straight. So I'll just kind of like hover over, and I'm kind of keeping my fingers tucked underneath before I actually release the card panel to sit down on that green. And then I can go ahead and press it down, smooth it out, and now I can go ahead and put this onto the card base. Now, no paper ever goes to waste in my stamp room. You're going to see when I flip this panel over, I did a test run of those colors that I wanted to use on this card. So just remember, if you mess up on something or you're testing out paper, remember there's two sides. So you can always reuse that paper. Don't ever let something go to waste in your craft room. So now I can line that up onto my card base, and I have a nice white border. Now I went ahead and placed down my trees, but I felt like I needed something on the snowbank. I felt like it just looked a little bit flat. So I went ahead and I grabbed the icicle glitter, and this is from Hero Arts as well. And I figured I would just add a little bit of that glitter onto that snowbank. Now, the glitter is like clearish white, so it's not going to compete with any color on here. Now, if I had did like a sparkle, I might get like shades of blue. But instead, I just figured I could do this chunkier, and I can not have a color that's going to compete. So at first, I was just going to put a line where the trees met up with the snowbank. I wasn't going to add the line all the way across, because most of it's going to be hidden by my trees. But once I did that, I actually didn't like it. I still felt the need to add the glitter all the way across. So instead of dumping anything out all over my desktop, I'm just taking little bits with my finger and just putting it where the glue is. Now, the whole time I'm doing this, I'm like, no, Dana, nope, we need to add that glitter all the way across that panel. But, you know, I couldn't stop at this point, so I just went ahead and tapped that off to see how I liked it. And lo and behold, I was right. I don't like that. So I am going to fill in the rest of that line. Again, a lot of that's going to be hidden, but that's okay. Just for my sanity's sake, I just needed to have the whole thing done. So I am going to lose a little bit of glitter here because I did not put this on a piece of paper, but I'm okay. Now look, I like the dimension of just that little bit of chunky glitter. I think it just adds a little something to the card. Now, since I have that done, I am going to lay out my trees, and my trees I'm going to actually pop up. I didn't want these to be flat, and it's also going to help me because I have that chunky glitter there. The raised up portion of this is going to work better than me just gluing right down over that glitter. I'll make sure to put enough of the backer square foams or foam squares to make sure that everything lays perfectly on this card. And again, I'm just arranging my snowflakes in a way that just makes sense to me. I could have did all three of them in the middle, but I do like having like 2 on one side and then 1 on another side. I just think it looks really, really pretty that way. So I'm going to put the 2 greens on this side, and then I'll bring in the red on the other side. And that's really just pulling you all the way across this card panel. And with that, you guys, my card is pretty much done. So I would really like to see what you create for your holiday cards this year. Once I thought I was done, I needed a little bit more sparkle. So I did grab my shimmer pen, and I'm just coloring in some of those diamond shapes on one of the cards. And then for my red card, I decided that the ornaments needed something. Those little round circles needed something. So I went and grabbed my Trinity Babbles. I think these are called. They're like flat back gems. I'll pour a couple of those out. And I'm not going to fill in the entire tree with these. I'm just going to put a few here and there just to pull some of that gold over to this side of the card. I just felt like this side was a little bit lost without having any gold on it. So once I have those glued into place, you guys, the card series is done. Thank you guys once again. Make sure to watch days 1 through 4 and also check out my series from my previous years. I thank you guys so much for your support. This won't be the last of my videos, I promise, but I want to get my card series done early. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in another video soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.